Hey friends, welcome back to A Mother's Journey to Holistic Health and Healing. I'm your host Marissa Prieto, and thank you so much for joining and listening today. This is episode 7. And I hope you and your families are doing well. We are now approaching the summer, right? The summer, I don't know where you're at right now, but here in El Paso, Texas, it gets pretty hot. We're already approaching the triple digits. And with that being said, we're pulling out all of our summer clothes, right? Our shorts, our tanks, maybe for some even, our kids are wanting to go out to the splash pads and the pool already. And so this is a time where we're having to look for other clothing that we haven't worn over the past year, right? And for some people, I understand it could cause some anxiety, some insecurities of thoughts like, oh, maybe this is not going to fit me this year. Is this going to fit me this year, this time? Or I'm not looking forward to going to the pools because I don't want to be in a swimsuit, or, whatever those thoughts are for you, where you start to maybe get some anxiety around the summertime and how you feel in your body. This may be that time, right? Kind of triggering for you. So I wanted this podcast today to be 5 ways to help you start your body acceptance journey. So I just want you to stop and think about, first of all, when you hear the word body acceptance, what comes to mind for you? So just think about that for 1 minute. When you think of the word body acceptance, what does that mean or feel like for you? So what I found is oftentimes from working with clients, this means for them that they are, quote unquote, letting themselves go. Letting go of whether it's like they're working on maybe not dieting anymore, or the need to, intentionally exercise and eat in a certain way to lose weight. For them, that feels like they are letting themselves go. So you know that if you've been listening for some time now, that I'm all about mindset and how our thoughts really create the results that we have in our life. And I would just like you to ask to kind of, keep an open mind and notice maybe the thoughts that you have as I get into this episode today, maybe noticing any thoughts of resistance, or, why would I try that? That's never worked for me before. Or how is this going to help me? What's that going to do for me, right? Just kind of noticing those thoughts with curiosity, a student mentality to being willing to learn and listen to new things. Seeing that maybe if it resonates with you, something, maybe feeling also and thinking like taking the approach of what's possible. Like, could it be possible for me to be in a place of body acceptance? Is this possible for me to try this and it work, right? So I really encourage you to maybe have an open mindset and thinking about the possibilities, and instead of saying like, oh, this won't work for me, this has never worked for me, like just kind of letting that go a little bit and instead taking an open-minded possibility approach, student like-minded approach. And before I get into ways to start our body acceptance journey, I'll just share a little bit about my own personal body image journey. So if you've listened to episodes 1 and 2, I go into a little bit more detail about those. And so basically, just to kind of summarize, I had issues with my body image as a young girl, school-aged, which led me to having disordered eating behaviors, restricting food, over exercising as I got older into high school and my early 20s, extreme chronic yo-yo dieter, went into weight cycling, having my weight fluctuate up and down, gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight, never feeling satisfied in my body. Then I went to bodybuilder. That lasted me for about maybe 5 years. And, that was the extreme, where I actually felt like back then I got to my quote unquote ideal body type, but still didn't feel good enough in it and wanted to do more. And so finally, when I realized this was not how I wanted to continue to live my life, this was not helping me. I was getting sick in terms of like more hormones. I had missed my period. I was having a lot of issues mentally and emotionally, relationships, those were suffering as well. And just my connection to myself was not there at all. So once I realized that I wanted to change that, I started having gradual changes. And first it started with my nutrition. And eventually, once I started to work through my relationship with food, and after I had my son, I still had this fear of weight gain or not losing the weight enough, which is what we call fat phobia. So, I was still, maybe you can relate, like many people out there, once you have a baby, you're doing whatever you can as quick as possible to get back to that, whether it's pre-baby weight or how you looked before, or like just that pressure, right? And that really didn't give me, I really didn't have much time to actually enjoy postpartum, my early months with my son, because I was so just entrenched still in diet culture and my body image. I didn't have those tools quite yet around my body image and hadn't worked through it yet, hadn't had any help around working through that yet. So I was still really fixated on my weight at that time. But I was aware about those practices that I had of weighing myself all the time, really tracking my food still. I lied to myself and said that I would track just to make sure I was eating enough. But, deep down inside, it was because I was worried if I was going to overeat. So there was a lot of practices that I was still doing that I was still fixated around my body image and weight gain. I was just that fear of weight gain. So as my son got a little bit older and I started diving into the work of holistic, non-diet approach, I started to learn more about it on my own. And then I hired a coach to work through that as well. So I started working with a therapist. So I started really doing a lot of inner work around my body image and any other work that I needed to around my relationship with food. And so that has really helped me put them into practice over these past, I would say, 6 years. Now that my girls are born, they're a year old and in a much better place now than I was when he was born. So I'm hoping to share with you, I want to share with you what's helped me and what's helping clients that I work with, helping them improve their body image in a way that's realistic and sustainable for them. So that's a little bit about my background there, is just kind of how it started and what helped me along the way. When I first started my body image healing work, it really started, first of all, was, making a conscious decision, do I want to make this change? And for me, it was really important to change the way I felt about my body, because not only did I did not want to pass down any beliefs or unhealthy habits or things onto my children. At the time, it was just my son, right? But I did not want for them to be exposed to that. And I wanted them to have tools and to have certain ways of thinking that could help them feel good and feel confident and accepting of their bodies at a young age, right? So I made the decision, and I made a conscious choice and decision to start doing the work, right? And that's a journey. It's an ongoing journey. What helped me at the beginning is just acknowledging and learning about when it started, in terms of like my body image struggles and when I started to feel different about my body. So, like I mentioned, when I started working with my coach and with a therapist, I was looking back to when it started in my early childhood years, just noticing the way that girls looked they looked smaller than I did, right? I compared myself to the other children. So there was not any conversation going on around the home from my parents or, not in schools either, right? I don't know if they have those conversations today. I guess that's left to us parents to talk about, that there are going to be children in different shapes and sizes, and that's okay and that's normal. That's what makes us unique and different, and our world interesting, right? And so I think having that conversation would have been helpful. I mean, I know as we get older, there's a lot more barriers and challenges that impact our mind about how and the way that we perceive our body to look in how it looks and how we feel about it. But I think just having that initial talk, I think with our children will be especially helpful, because we already, especially when they're young, we are already implanting in their mind, as young as like 6 years old, 5 years old, or even younger, just telling them like all bodies are different. All bodies are unique. We are all interesting. We are all in different shapes and sizes, and that is normal and that's okay. And having that conversation with our kids, is that first step, I feel like, to helping establish a little bit of that body acceptance. So that's where I started my work, was acknowledging how it started and, where it came from, right? And then I started doing little things on my end that I had control over to help me start improving my body image, the way that I felt about it. So some things were unfollowing certain social media profiles that were triggering to me, especially when it came to fitness. This exercise to burn this fat, burn, this amount of calories, lose this weight, shred, this exercise for shredding. And so all of these kinds of words have a lot of power on how we feel. So I seeked more other YouTube channels and websites and things that were encouraging more of like a diversity, like bodies in different sizes and shapes, and that also focus on how you wanted to feel, like do this exercise for more energy or this for more strength, or so I kind of shift that less from how appearance wise, from how it looked, to how I wanted to feel. And that really helped a lot. And I think that's one thing to consider, is that we are always going to be surrounded, and to realize and remember that we are always going to be surrounded by images, unrealistic images of certain perfect bodies, the thin ideal, on social media, on cartoons, on movies, on magazines, the celebrities, the models, we're always going to be constantly surrounded by it. This society has a very extreme hyper focus on weight and body image. So it's always going to be there in our face, which is why even 20 years later, I am still doing the work, right? Because there's always going to be triggers. There's always going to be photos, things that you hear, things that you see, right? Things that you read. And it's now our work to control how we're going to respond to those. And that's where a lot of the mindset work comes. So again, mindset work can be very challenging to do it on your own. So I really encourage you work with somebody in body image. I am accepting clients right now, and you feel connected to work together, please, you can click the link in the description and we can schedule a call to talk about services together. But anyway, we definitely would, it's very helpful to get support when it comes to body image work, because our brain can keep us comfortable and safe and wanting just to keep stagnant and not grow and expand from it. Because at first doing the work can feel uncomfortable and strange because you've never done it before. But once you gradually start to do it little by little, and you have support to help you see thoughts that your brain's playing on, like tricks that your brain is playing on you, certain thoughts that are not true, coaching can be very helpful there to help you keep propelling forward towards your body acceptance journey. So those so far, acknowledging where it came from, how it started. Maybe for you, it's noticing, is it around my home, like, or my parents or my mom? Was she always talking about and judging and criticizing the way she looked? Or was it a grandmother, an aunt, a cousin, friends, right? Maybe, you were part of a cheerleading team or ballet or a certain sport. So of course, naturally, it makes sense that they would want to, look a certain way, right? Which is totally normal, again, in our society. I think that when we can kind of just understand and have an awareness of why we think the way we think and why we feel the way we feel about our bodies, is so helpful. It plants a seed. It's the foundation to help us start to do the work. So maybe for you, just kind of think about, where could it have started? What kind of experiences in my life planted that seed to make me feel differently about my body. Movies, TV shows, celebrities, certain sports, certain people in your life, right? And just kind of taking that realization in, right? And thinking about like just realizing that, like, how did that impact you over the years? So if you, as you can see, for me over the years, it led to disordered eating behaviors. It led to anorexia. It led to bulimia. It led to over exercising and having an unhealthy relationship with exercise, using it as a punishment. It led to bodybuilding, which then led me to having hormone imbalances, and fertility issues as well. So let me just add that yo-yo dieting, weight cycling, and getting to a very low fat percentage can affect your fertility. Those were the results that it gave me, just having that hyper focus on my body image, right? Trying to, not feeling comfortable in certain clothes, not wearing shorts, not wanting to get into swimsuits, not wanting to go out in certain social situations when I'd be in my weight regain phase, being ashamed, feeling uncomfortable, So you can kind of get the picture. Like maybe for you, think about what kind of results has me, struggling with my body image, and what kind of actions have I taken, and what kind of results has it given me? So like for me, like I said, it was a lot of yo-yo dieting, disordered eating, weight cycling, which ultimately got me finally to a point in time where I wanted to do the work, not just for myself, but also for my children. And part of that work, once I started working through some of those things, like not weighing myself, meeting my body with more self-compassion, especially like when getting out of the shower or how I looked in certain things, challenging myself to wear shorts more when I felt ready to, wearing certain clothing, getting rid of certain clothes that I hadn't worn in a long time, that, when you have a certain outfit in there and you're like, I'm going to wait till I lose this amount of weight and then I'm going to keep it for motivation, kind of a thing, right? But it's been like over 5 years, and it was before you had kids, right? Like that's what I did. Those are the things I started doing, which I also little by little work with my clients on doing too. So I got rid of some of the clothes that I did not wear for a very long time and that I knew weren't going to fit me anymore, realistically. And I started working and building the concept of body neutrality and started doing a lot of mindset work. Once I understood what body neutrality meant, and putting it into practice in myself, and then later on down the road with clients. So, are you familiar with the concept of body neutrality? Have you ever heard of body neutrality? Most likely you've heard of body positivity, but have you heard about body neutrality? And body neutrality is a lot more of a realistic way of approaching your body image. And so when we don't like something about our body or our whole body in itself, taking a more neutral approach can help shift the focus away from that body dissatisfaction. So for instance, for me, it looked like not picking certain areas of my body and just saying, oh, I don't like this, I didn't like that. It was more, I shifted it towards neutral. Like, I have cellulite on my legs. It's normal for people to have cellulite on their legs. That's an example that I shared, right? So I just made it more neutral and more normal. And once that became kind of like a regular thought for me and a belief, and which I put into practice, especially when I got triggered a lot, when I would put on shorts, or if I'd be doing certain movements and exercise, like through weights or through yoga, and I would see the cellulite and the fat, that's when I would put those into practice especially, right? And then maybe a couple of years after my son was born, I would say maybe like around 4 years old, is when I really put into practice the concept of body gratitude. So I took it up a step further. I started really realizing, like, as he got older and bigger, how much gratitude and appreciation I had for my body, like just trying to keep up with him, right? Like, we know how busy we can get all day being active and doing all the things around the house, taking care of the house, taking care of the kids while trying to take care of yourself. I really just started to have a greater appreciation for my body and all that it did for me. So shifting the focus to body appreciation and gratitude was also extremely helpful for me. I would say that a big healing moment for me that really solidified my peace and acceptance that I am now at with my body, finally 20 years later into life. Like I mentioned, from going through all those stages, through bodybuilding and everything, now that I feel confident and at peace with my body image. And I attribute it to not just the work that I've done, but the body gratitude aspect of it. So when I had my girls, it was a very difficult, very, very difficult pregnancy, not just emotionally, mentally, but physically as well. So of course, I was physically drained. I had twin girls, so I was physically drained, extremely fatigued, had a lot of trouble sleeping. I had hyperemesis gravidarium, which is excessive vomiting in pregnancy, pretty much throughout most of the whole pregnancy. I also had to take daily injections to prevent blood clotting because I was at a high risk for blood clotting. And the girls were also, they were in different sex, but they shared the same placenta. So I was a very high risk pregnancy. So naturally that came with a lot of stress, right? And I had losses in the past. So it was just a very stressful pregnancy. And I did my best to help my self-care during that time. But, again, overall, my body took a hard beating. I had a cesarean birth. I had originally wanted a vaginal, but it ended up being different plans. The universe had different plans for me. I had a cesarean birth. The healing from that was, if you've had a cesarean birth, I'm sure you know how that feels and going through that. And, after I started, as the pain started to dissipate, as I was slowly able to move my body a little bit more, and I was able to have a little bit more energy, like to to focus on the good, right? Because we go through this time where we just feel down, right? Or if we're in like postpartum blues or postpartum depression, it can be hard to focus on the good. I remember just being in the shower and, just this water is pouring over me, and I just look down at my belly and I can see my belly, just hanging over, just saggy, seeing all the swelling still in my lower limbs, my lower extremities. And I just remember, really feeling thankful for my body, that it carried these amazing little humans, healthy humans, for 9 months. And I was just in this moment of gratitude. And, getting out of the shower, I started to put on my lotion and just looking at, like the stretch marks, and just kind of like just touching the area, just kind of smoothing it out, putting my oil on my scar. Like, it was a very healing moment for me that I think just kind of took it on another level of like having that body peace and acceptance and gratitude, that I was just so extremely grateful of all the work that it did that whole 9 months to help me, deliver these healthy babies. So I think that gave me the most gratitude, and it helped change my perspective. And that's saying I'm more than just this body also, So that was a big healing moment for me. And maybe for you, maybe you can focus on instead, like if you've had past injuries, like maybe you had an injury and it took some time for you to recover that required physical therapy, or maybe you had a medical procedure that required to have some surgery and your body changed after that, right? I think just kind of taking that appreciation and also acknowledging that it's going to change, right, can help with that body acceptance. So what's helping me also is just reminding myself of this thought, this belief that it's okay for my body to change as I age. It's safe for my body to change as I get older. Like finding whatever intentional thought that resonates for you, that feels authentic, can really do a lot of wonders into making you feel differently about your body, more at peace and accepting of it. So really, that's another one, right? I mean, you can imagine like me going from bodybuilder 14 years ago and still having thoughts, triggering thoughts, right? Like body checking certain areas, in your arms, your legs, or waist or whatnot, right? There's still voices that come out from my past version of myself. So I want you to know that that's normal and that's going to happen. And it's not going to completely go away, but we can make those voices quieter and quieter and less frequent if you're willing to do the work and if you want to do the work. And remembering that we are surrounded by it, very much so. We can do our best to try to minimize it or avoid it, but it's always going to be there, right? And we can change it by how we react to those certain triggers. So just taking that approach, that more body gratitude, body appreciation, and that it's normal for my body to change as I age, like that's really helping me to overcome those past beliefs of how my body, quote unquote, should look, right? Before I was a mom, right? So I think we have these expectations and realizations that we feel like we should look like a certain version of ourselves from the past, when we're not in the present of how our body is in the now, or even thinking about what it's done for us over the years. So taking that appreciation and doing the work on that can really shift that perspective. And then practicing body respect. So for me, when I mean body respect, shifting away from physical appearance, it's more about the self-care habits. So maybe it's things that you're doing for your body to respect it, like getting adequate sleep and resting when you need to and when you can, nourishing your body with nutritious foods, hydrating your body with water, thinking about the kind of drinks that you're intaking, moving your body in a fulfilling way, right? Self-talk, that's a huge one too, you know? The words that you tell yourself are going to trigger an emotion in your body. And the words and thoughts that we have are very powerful. So if you're practicing neutral talk or a little bit more positive self-talk, that will really help how you feel about your body and how you think about it. And that is also part of respecting your body. Let's say, for example, you have this current thought, this initial thought. For example, I hate the way my body looks. Like maybe that's something that you have, or I hate the way I look in this, or I hate this about this part of my body. Maybe another step in a more positive way and beneficial way for you could be, oh, it's possible I'm being hard on myself about my body. I'm open to seeing this differently. Or there are some things I don't like about my body, and there are some things I do like about my body, right? So kind of taking that neutral approach, right? And just seeing, oh, what resonates more, right? Because maybe an overall goal for you would be like I want to feel good about my body, but it doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel right yet. It feels kind of far away. So you start off with doing thoughts that are a little bit more realistic for you, depending on where you're at in your body image journey. So little by little, it could be maybe like I'm learning how to respect my body and be more accepting of it, right? Or I'm taking better care of it, right? So those could be more helpful thoughts, more beneficial thoughts that to shift away from the physical appearance that could help bring about more body acceptance. So I hope that is making sense. And maybe it may not click yet because your brain is still trying to register it and is trying to make sense of it. So I just want to put out there that's totally normal, okay? Because it may be the first time that you hear this and your brain's like, what is this? What's going on? So just know that that's totally normal. It might not sink in right away. Like I said, it might be offering you different types of thoughts, like what's that going to do for you? How is that going to change how I feel about my body? Like there's just your brain is probably going to offer you all different types of thoughts. I just want to share that. But please understand and know that your words and your thoughts are powerful. They are extremely, extremely powerful. And so the thoughts that you have about yourself, about your body, is going to cause an emotion in your body, which then will trigger any type of action you do and give you a result that you have. So an example, if in the past before I hated my legs, I would say I hate my legs, I hate the cellulite, I don't like this, I don't like that. What kind of emotion would it cause in my body? Insecurity, right? disgust or dissatisfaction or comparing other legs. And well, what kind of action did that drive me to? It drove me to always doing a diet. It always drove me to over exercising, doing too much cardio. It had an unhealthy relationship with food and exercise, which that's the result that it gave me, right? I was not enough. So I went on the cycle again and again and again and again. So instead, we break that pattern by first changing the way we think and feel about your body. So I'll say that again. We got to start by first changing the way you think and feel about your body, which will take time. So here are 5 things that you can do on your end to help you start your body acceptance journey. Number 1, make a conscious decision to yourself, like a commitment. I want to do this work. I want to feel different, to feel and think differently about my body. Or I want to feel more accepting of my body. Like, what is that for you? But make the decision that, yes, I do want to do the work. Because once you make that decision, it's already there in your mind and your brain is registering it and you're now awake to it. If you say, I'm not sure, I don't know, you're not going to be taking intentional action steps towards it. So make that commitment to yourself. I'm going to make the conscious decision, yes or no. And then think about, how do I want to feel about my body? Eventually, like, what's that goal like for you? Is it more at peace, more accepting, more caring? Like, how do you want to feel about your body? More confident, right? And then from there, the second step could be diversifying your social media feed. Unfollow profiles that trigger you, that trigger to make you feel down about yourself, that triggered you to compare yourself with others. Follow other social media profiles that show different shapes, different sizes, different colors. You might find some that will say weight inclusive or weight neutral or health at every size. Those could be some you type in and search for those keywords that will pop up. Okay, surround yourself with more diversity. Unfollow the ones that trigger you. Remember, maybe thinking about how you want to feel. Like I shared earlier, what helped me was avoiding the ones that had keywords like cut your fat, shred. What was the other ones? Like get rid of the baby fat, like cut these calories, all those ones. And I shifted to how I wanted to feel. Do this for more strength, for more energy, for more peace, for more calm, like for more improvement in your endurance. Like, those are the things that helped me. So once you've done that, then you can also start to notice and start thinking about, start noticing the thoughts that you have about your body, right? Like I mentioned, where did it start? Where did it come from? And notice the thoughts that come up for you. What triggers negative or, unhelpful, unbeneficial thoughts? Notice those. Maybe meet them with a bit more self-compassion, or curiosity, like, oh, why am I thinking this way about my body again? Okay, well, that makes sense. I was seeing, these older pictures of me from before, or, that's a big one for a lot of my clients, comparing themselves to the past, or maybe a friend or somebody else, a family member, comparing their body to another person. Just acknowledge those thoughts, acknowledge them and validate them. That's normal for me to feel this way. It makes sense because of this, right? So validating and acknowledging those thoughts is very important to just helping you feel like, yeah, this is part of the process and it's normal. And then maybe even taking it a step further and thinking about, okay, what could be a more neutral thought? Or could I shift this to something that's more of gratitude, right? Like I mentioned, for me, another healing moments I would do was with my legs, I would shift that to thank you, legs, for helping me to be able to play with my son, to walk with him, to climb, to hike, to play sports. I really shifted it and thought about all the different ways that I felt gratitude towards my body and toward my legs in this case. So a gratitude approach can be very, very powerful. Practicing the thoughts of, like I said, body neutrality or body gratitude instead of like what it can do, right? Instead of the physical appearance wise. So focus on, what it can do for you, like the strength of your body, the resilience it has. And then maybe even, body respect, thinking about what are some self-care practices that I can do to respect myself, respect my body. Is it eating 3 balanced meals a day? Is it drinking plenty of water? Getting enough sleep and rest? Being active, talking differently towards myself with more compassion or more kindness. So those would be your 5 things. Diversify your social media feed. Unfiled profiles that don't lift you up, that just drag you down. Look for more helpful ones and around weight neutral, weight inclusive. Make the conscious decision to do it, to make the change, right? Number 2. Number 3, notice the thoughts around them, acknowledge them, validate them, think about where it started. Number 4, practice those thoughts of body gratitude. What are you grateful for about your body or that certain part of it? Or body neutrality. This body helps me move through my day. Focusing on what it can do. That's number 4. And number 5, putting into practice self-care habits to respect your body. So here is your reflection question for you. What is one thing you can do today that will help you feel comfortable or feel good or feel accepting in your now present current body? So maybe any of the things that I shared from today's episode, what is one thing that can help you to feel better, good, confident in your body and moving forward, thinking about what else could you do for moving forward? And are you embarking on a journey towards body acceptance? Please know and understand that this is imperfect work. There's no right or wrong way. It takes time. It's not a destination. There's no finish line. It's a journey, a lifelong journey. It will look different. Our body's going to look different as we age, through different seasons, through different experiences. It's just going to change. How do you want to be able to cope when your body goes through serious changes? How do you want to meet your body with when that day comes? So I'd encourage you to put those things into practice if this really is important to you. And how can you also, once you start to do the work, right? Because this starts with you. What can you then help your children with to help them set them up with success and maybe not go down the same path that you once went? Maybe put them on a different path. And help them as best as you can. That is within your control, right? Social media is another thing, and filters. But I hope this episode has been helpful for you today, and you've been able to take away some tips and some things that you can put into practice. Again, if you are interested in working one-to-one for coaching, you can message me on my Instagram, or you can also click the link in the description and schedule a free consultation call, and we can talk about your struggles and what you would like to work on, your goals, and how I can help you get there. All right, friends, thank you so much for your time. Take care.